So I don't know how everybody else is feeling, but for me, it's been a hell of a week. We had the incident that's all over or was all over social media for the last week or so, the terrible tragedy of the woman in Charlotte, North Carolina, I believe, and what happened to her, the way that she was killed, and seeing the video multiple times and still frames of what happened and her reaction just almost takes the life right out of you. And I understand why people are sharing the video because it's time for people to wake up and understand there are bad people out there. And there are people out there that are protecting those bad people rather than the people in the city. But it didn't make it any easier to watch or see, even though I can understand it. And you get to Wednesday and you're like, thank goodness, finally a little bit of escape from a pretty not great week when it comes to things that I've witnessed, the thoughts that I've had, the conversations I've even had with my wife about the state of things, whether it be in America or really all parts of the world, where I'm not exactly optimistic about where things are heading, and certainly not optimistic about the way people are treating each other when they have disagreements. You get to Wednesday, you get your bit of escapism. But DC put out a book this week called Red Hood Number One. The writer is Gretchen Felker Martin. When they announced this person to be on that book, I was like, that is a very strange hire. Because if you go in the past of Gretchen Felker Martin, a transgender activist, writer, whatever you want to call them, there are, death threats against J.K. Rowling. There are moments in one of their books where they're describing, murdering or a character murdering J.K. Rowling in the book. There are social media posts praising the work of Osama bin Laden on 9/11, which to me, if you're a company like a DC who works for Warner Brothers, seems like disqualifying factors. Maybe we shouldn't be hiring you. And all last week, every book you got from DC essentially had a preview for Red Hood Number One, including Batman Number One from Matt Fraction, because DC, despite all that, and I know for 100% certain that they know about it, because it's been confirmed to me, they decided to push the book and get behind the project because Gretchen Felker Martin is a writer and an artist that they truly believe in. And this morning, there's a fucking Twitter post. I guess it's not a tweet, it's a queef because it's on Blue Sky, where Gretchen Felker Martin was like, everybody keeps talking about cops and suicide in the timeline. I don't understand. And then I realized it was the cops killing themselves in the book. And I don't even think of them as human. So it didn't even register to me, which is pretty fucking psychotic, if you ask me. That is not a healthy person's understanding of how you talk about people, certainly police and stuff like that. So already not starting out good for DC Comics and the Red Hood Number One that came out this week, today specifically, on New Comic Book Day. And just within the last hour and a half, maybe, word got out. I was actually recording a podcast with Aaron Sparrow that Charlie Kirk had been shot at an event in Utah. And as we were already recording something, I had some information, but I didn't get to see a whole lot of it because, we had to wrap up what we were doing. But obviously, since we've done that, I've gone on to social media and found out just how bad it was. And then ultimately that he's no longer with us. And Charlie is a father. He's got a wife, he's got 2 young kids. And he would go out there and promote discourse on college campuses, go out there and challenge worldviews, but trying to get people to communicate and talk. And Gretchen Falcon Martin, whatever the name of that fucking person is, actually had another queef on Blue Sky stating, thoughts and prayers, you fucking Nazi, or something along those lines. I'm not going to go out there and bring it up right now. But I think it's something along those lines. And then there is another message that I hope, like, the bullet's okay after touching Charlie Kirk, which is disgusting, just behavior, like, beyond the pale. Obviously, this is not a healthy human being. This is somebody with severe mental issues. But we already knew that, and DC Comics already knew that. And DC Comics have associated themselves with this psychopath. They are a part of the DC brand, whether DC wants it or not. They will be forever tied to the Charlie Kirk event and everything because their fucking employee actually came out and said something that disgusting. And the fact that DC, let's say that they didn't know about the Osama bin Laden and J.K. Rowling stuff before they hired Gretchen Felker Martin. They certainly knew about it after they announced it, and they decided to continue to be aligned with this person, to continue paying them, to continue putting the book out and promoting them as a new potential star writer at DC Comics. In fact, throwing previews out in Batman and everything else that came out the last week. And shockingly, when that book debuts, more heinous, disgusting, disturbing behavior out of this person, and it's all associated with DC. And I just talked about yesterday, hey, things are looking up. I'm enjoying DC Comics more. I think most people are realizing there's more quality around DC these days. Scott Snyder has, the interview on Casualty Comics, going out there and saying everything I think that people, lapsed readers, have been wanting to hear. Give me a reason to come back. Give me a reason to trust DC Comics again. And of course, something like this comes out and just bites them in the ass. And I wouldn't be surprised if there are a lot of people, after seeing something like that, if DC do not come out and say anything, and they're just like, you know what, we're going to wait this one out. Just decide to never fucking support the company again. And I wouldn't blame them. I'm not going to do that. But I could see other people doing it because that behavior is so disgusting. And they hired that person on purpose. Somebody that they knew had these kind of lunatic fringe fucking ideals and views and wanted it to be a part of their brand that includes fucking Superman and Wonder Woman and a pantheon of the greatest superheroes in the world that, really symbolize the great ideals of how great not only America could be, but the world could be on their best days. And they would go out there and hire this hideous fucking monster and associate it with their brand, with a Batman character, and then go out there and push it. Tells me that there is something fundamentally fucking wrong with DC Comics. We've known that there's been a lot of rot in the industry for a long time. And I'm always looking for hope. I'm looking for a reason to believe things can get fucking better. But every time, that little glimmer shows up and you can see the little light, you're like, maybe we're going to get out of here. Maybe we can get back to great superhero storytelling again. Maybe we can start trusting, some of these publishers. Maybe some of those lapsed fans. Maybe it's time for them to come back and check out a Green Lantern or an Aquaman or maybe even a Batman, Superman, whatever. Something like this always happens because they have abandoned the core principles, I think, of themselves as a fucking company. They will go out there and hire you literally because you're fucking crazy. And I just don't know a lot of people that want to be associated with that. And if DC don't come out and actually say something, say, hey, you see this person? We're not releasing the rest of the book. We condemn this fucking behavior and we don't want to be associated with them at all. They can walk away with the fucking paycheck, but we will never, ever publish their work because that is despicable behavior. A father, a husband, a young man was fucking murdered. And Gretchen Felker Martin went out there and with the hilarious tweet, hope the bullet's okay. And that's what they've associated their brand with. And it's been a hell of a week. And certainly it's gotten far, far worse, in my opinion, today. I don't care whether you like Charlie Kirk's politics. I don't care if you don't like his politics. But if you're celebrating the death of a husband and a father for no reason, if you're celebrating what happened to him, you can go fuck yourself. You are a terrible human being. And that's how I feel about you personally, if that's your reaction to moments like that. And unfortunately, it looks like there are far more lunatics walking around in America and probably all over the world than we'd like to even believe. But it feels like a lot of that is coming to the surface and something has to change. It can't keep going the way that it's going because people aren't safe. Fathers aren't safe. Children aren't safe. Women can't ride in fucking buses anymore because we've allowed far too many mentally fucking unstable, crazy people to walk among us and just go out there and celebrate the assassinations of somebody that went out there and championed open discourse. No matter what you believed in, he wanted to have a conversation with you. And apparently that's too fucking evil for some people in this world. And I'll never get it. I don't understand it. And as far as DC Comics, they should be fucking ashamed of themselves right now. And they deserve everything that anybody wants to say about the company today.